Hey guys, this is Miss Sarah. I'm back with my next lesson, and today's lesson is 7-1. 7-1. And it's a continuation of Friday's lesson, which was an elimination method to solve system of equation. So we did elimination on Friday, so today's lesson is on substitution method. Substitution method. I hope you remember I said we have nonlinear and linear, two different types of equations, system of equations to solve for. So substitution works better on nonlinear functions. So anytime you have nonlinear functions, we do substitution, or nonlinear equations. So we do substitution method. So I'm just going to show you an easy example just to understand the process. So like the first one, let's say I have 2x minus y and it's equal to 10. The second one is 3x plus 2y, it's equal to 1. So the way substitution works is you have to pick one of the equations and you need to solve for one of the variables. I don't care which one you pick, I don't care which one you solve for, whichever one is easier to solve for one of the variables, just pick that. So what I'll do is I'm going to pick first equation because I see y by itself, so I can solve this equation for y. So solve for y. So I would take first equation, I would take away 2x both sides. This becomes negative y is equal to negative 2x plus 10. Still y is not by itself, so I would divide by negative 1. So this equation going to be equal to 2x minus 10. So this equation is already solved for one of the variable. So I'm halfway through. So I already have one equation solved for one of the variables. So you need to take that, plug it into the other equation. I repeat, plug it into the other equation, because if you plug it into the same equation, everything's going to get canceled out. All right. So plug it into the second equation. So I have 3x 2 and y is equal to 2x minus 10. The rest of the equation would stay the same and it's equal to 1. Now this is just simple equation, so let's just distribute and solve. 3x distribute 2. This is 4x minus 20. It's equal to 1. Combine like terms, 7x minus 20 and it's equal to 1. So add 20 both sides, it's 21 and x is equal to 3. All right, that's just my first answer. I still have to solve for y. So how do we solve for y? So you have multiple options. You could either take it into the simplified equation, or you can take it back to any of the original equation, doesn't matter. But this new equation is always the easiest one to plug in for. So I'm just going to take this new equation, y is equal to 2 and x is equal to 3, back to blue, minus 10. Let's simplify. It's 6 minus 10, so my answer is negative 4. So finally, I have 3 and negative 4 as my solution. That's my first example. So let me show you one more with nonlinear. So let's say I have y. This is example number 3. If you want to follow along, it's on page number 570. And this is example number 3. So I have y is equal to x to the third minus 6x. And second equation, y is equal to 3x. Okay, what I see is pretty much both equations are solved for y. So basically what I'll do is I'll pick one of the equation and replace y with that expression into second equation. So what I see is this equation is easier to substitute into this. So I'll pick second equation and replace this y with 3x. So my new equation after substituting everything, so this I'm going to plug everything into first equation. So this y would be 3x and rest of the stuff would stay the same. Now rest is just simplifying. So let's combine like terms. So I would take away 3x both sides. I have x to the third minus 9x and it's equal to 0. Let's try factoring this. So I could factor out x and I have x squared minus 9 left. And I know this x squared minus 9 is difference of 2 squared. I can simplify 2x minus 3 and x plus 3. And finally, I have 3 answers for x. So x could be equal to 0, could be equal to 3, and negative 3. But that's not all. I still have to solve for y. So I have to take all 3 x's and plug it into one of these equations to solve for y. So I'm just going to use this equation to solve for y. So let's plug in 0 first. If I plug in 0, if x is equal to 0, if I plug 0 in here, so y would also be 0. So my first answer would be 0, 0. If I plug in 3, so my second answer would be, my x is 3. If I plug it in, it would be positive 9. If I plug negative 3, so this is negative 3 and negative 9. So that's how you need to write your answer. So it's easier if you put it in coordinate points. That way you know which x gives you which y. So it's easier if you put it in this format. I have one more example. So let's say this is example number 2. This is on page number 569. And it says, find the dimension of a rectangular garden that has perimeter of 100 feet and area is 300 feet square. So I know the perimeter is 100 feet. And the area is 300 feet square. So I need to find the dimensions of this rectangular garden. So let's just pretend for this rectangle I have 2 side lengths x and y. So I know if I do 2x plus 2y, this would be equal to 100. And I know if I multiply these two sides, which would make area, it's going to be equal to 300. So I already have my equations down. Now, pretty much the rest is just solving system of equation. So I just have to solve for x and y both. Now, you have 2 different options you could do. Either you can pick this equation, solve for one of the variable, and plug it into this. Or you can pick this equation, solve for one of the variable, and plug it into this. Whichever way is easier, just do that. So I have decided to pick first one, and I'll solve for, let's just solve that equation for y. I have 2x plus 2y is equal to 100. Let's solve for y, so I would take away 2x both sides. Let's divide by 2. So this y would be equal to negative x plus 50. Now this is what I need to plug it into this second equation. Let's do that. So x would stay the same. This y would be, I have negative x plus 50 and it's equal to 300. Let's solve. So let's distribute first. So negative x to the second, 50x, and it's equal to 300. I hope you remember every time we have quadratic, it's easier if you keep the square term positive. So I would add and subtract 50x to this side. So this would look something like this. And it's equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic function. You can try doing x factoring if it works. If not, then we could just do quadratic formula. So I know we do not have any combination that would give you 300 if you multiply and negative 50 if you add. Yeah, there's nothing, so I have to do quadratic formula. And here's the story. All right, guys, try calling that. Negative boy wasn't sure to go on a radical party. Since B was square, he missed out on 4 awesome chicks, and party wasn't over until 2 a.m. So let's plug everything in. So negative boy wasn't sure. B was square, so 50 squared would be 2,500 minus 4 times A times 300 over 2 times A. If you solve the entire thing at the end, you know x is going to be 2 different numbers. I have x is equal to 6.97 and x is equal to 43.027. And then you need to solve for y. So pretty much if I plug in this x into that equation, your y would be 43.02. So that would be my first answer. If you plug this as x, your y is 6.97. Again, your answer would be. So whichever one is easier, you could do that. And pretty much, it's going to be one of these answers. So you can pick either one. It's right. And the last thing, how to check if it's no solution or many solution problem. No solution or many solution. Just like elimination, if you remember, all the x's and y's all variables gonna get canceled out. So then it's based off true or false statement. So same thing happens for substitution. If you plug everything in and there's no variable left, then you need to decide your answer based off that statement at the end. If it's a true statement at the end, it means there would be many solutions of that problem. Then if let's say it's a false statement, then there would be no solution for that problem. There you go. So this is all for today. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.